Hi children, today we are going to discuss about the separation techniques of the heterogeneous mixtures. So how the two compounds or two mixtures can be separated, the two components of the heterogeneous mixtures can be separated. The first technique here we're going to discuss about is evaporation. Evaporation is a common technique in which the evaporation, the ink, for example, how do you separate the two components? Ink, what does it contain? Ink is a dye which contains colored components. The colored components are volatile or non-volatile solutes, whereas water. So ink contains non-volatile solute plus volatile solvent. So when you are taking ink, that means it contains dye. Ink is a mixture of dye plus water. Dye is a non-volatile solute, whereas water is a volatile solvent. When you take an ink in a watch glass and if you put on the beaker which contains water and if you heat for some time later, what happens? The water which is present or the volatile solvent, that is water which is present in the ink, gets evaporated. This process is called as evaporation, and this evaporation is very much useful in the evaporation from seawater, the getting from salt from seawater. So evaporation is a routine day-to-day life technique. Separate components. Next component is chromatography. Chromatography is a technique in which the chroma refers to color, in which there are mobile phase as well as stationary phase. Let us see how the chromatography works. Let us take a stationary phase filter paper about 3 centimeters above from the bottom, put an ink mark. So what does ink contains? Ink is a dye which contains plus water, dye plus water. Okay, and in this, suspend this in the amount of water. Okay, so close the lid. After some time, when this water touches this ink surface, the colored component, the dye contains many colored components. The component which is more soluble in water starts coming above surface. It is more soluble in water. Many components are present. The component which is more soluble in water moves upwards. So this is regarding that's how the different components from our blood in the laboratories, diagnostic laboratories can be separated, as well as dyes, colors can be separated. So this is the technique, this is the most advanced technique chromatography, and these days many other chromatographies like paper chromatography, HPLC, all these techniques are used nowadays. Next technique is centrifugation. Centrifugation is also a common technique. In our house, what happens? You might have seen your mothers churning the buttermilk. So, what is the phenomena which is involved in this is the density of the particles. The density of the particles. The density of the particles. The denser particles are forced to move downwards, whereas the lightweight particles will be moving upwards. For example, if you are churning the butter with cream, you can separate butter as well as cream at your home, and you can separate the butter from the buttermilk. So that is how you can use this centrifugation in our day-to-day life, as well as squeezing water in our washing machine. The phenomena or the technique which is involved is the differences in the density of the particles. So the density, these particles cannot be separated by normal filtration because the solid particles will not come with the filter paper, normal filter paper. That is how this where centrifugation works in that process. Next technique is sublimation. Sublimation is the process in which the solid substance is directly converted into gaseous state or vapor state. So the salts which are non-sublimable impure salts, or can be get separated from the sublimed sublimed vapor state. For example, if you take ammonium chloride, or else if you take a funnel, okay, if you put cotton plug like this, in this funnel take NH4Cl, that is ammonium chloride, and you start heating this. After some time, what will happen? You get a salt of NH4Cl, as well as the vapors or get separated in this. So that is how you can separate salts plus water, salts plus vapors in this sublimation process. So the other examples for sublimation process are your naphthalene, which we use at our homes in our wardrobes, as well as camphor and anthracene. All these are examples for sublimation process. Next process is separating funnel process. Separating funnel process. So how you gonna separate two miscible liquids from each other? For example, take acetone and water. Take this separating funnel. Two liquids, oil plus water. These are completely immiscible liquids. So the oil which has lighter density moves forward, whereas the water which has higher density is below. So after some time they get separated like this, then it forms two layers. After some time, if you turn on the nozzle here, the water gets separated first, and you can separate it first, and later after completing the water, you can take the oil. This is the technique which we use in our chemistry laboratories for separating two miscible liquids from each other. This is a separating funnel technique. So these are some of the techniques which we use in our daily life.